we are back. I don't know. Yeah, Eric. Okay, which way do I turn? That way?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I think we're just going to start because everybody's at lunch. And I think, is this also recorded?
Yeah.
Okay, well, hello.
So you want to honor the on-timers.
Honor the... Where is it? Okay. Okay, good afternoon. I'm going to talk about the Programmable RegTech ecosystem. And I've done quite a lot of looking into what that is, but I also work for a company that serves over 70% of Fortune 500 in the United States. When we started the company, everybody said, you are so going to fail. Nobody's going to put pre-financial data into the cloud. But the pain point that they were going through, which I will explain a little bit in my presentation, was so painful that they really threw up their arms and said, there's got to be a better way. So with that, we're going to talk a little bit about the empowering the digital transformation. We're going to talk about the elephant in the room. RegTech, what does it really mean? Because I think that it's still not defined in a way that the market and everybody can understand and say, okay, that's RegTech. Because somebody will come up and say, is that FinTech? And then yesterday, Eric and I announced Audit Tech. So there is a lot of different angles to this. We're going to talk about the RegTech data lifecycle, what they do to get the reports together, and then what's next. So empowering the transformation, I look at that. Don Tapscott came and spoke with us at one of the XBRL conferences a long time ago. And he really emphasized one thing, and remember this is 2006 when he wrote this book, but mass collaboration is going to change everything. If there was no mass collaboration, XBRL wouldn't be here today because Eric could not do it alone at home. It needed a market participation. So how did we get there? Well, does anybody know that it was 1703 that we actually came up with the 1 and 2 kind of a theory? And here I get to brag a little bit because the computer was actually invented at Iowa State University. Yoo-hoo! Can I get a little cheering from the crowd? Good. And guess where we are? We are in Ames, Iowa. And then, of course, Tim Berners-Lee came on the scene and developed the internet or the protocol and so on. But if we look at how quick, as far as growth, there is actually almost 7.5 billion people on the internet today. That's quite a lot of people. I remember searching XBRL 20 years ago, and there was 3 hits, and 2 of them were Eric, and 1 was Charlie, and then mine was IMA's thing, so 4. Internet users are over 3.7, but if you start looking at the growth that it's happening, this global digital snapshot is updated every quarter, and it's very good, accurate information. So when you start looking for annual growth, it grows at 10%. Activity of social media. I mean, I've been posting on Facebook and Twitter and everything since I've walked in the room here. Unique mobile. Many parts of the world, they only have mobiles. They don't even have the real internet. So this was just to set the stage. But the truth of the matter is, it's all about the data. We need smart, discoverable, consumable data, or it's meaningless, because big data has just gotten too big. So let's talk about data quality. I can just see this scene in the corporate compliance meeting. I spend a third of my time tracking and analyzing regulatory changes. I'm experienced regulatory fatigue. And as more and more has become personal, we are actually making accountability to individuals. We can no longer hide behind the organization. We also now carry personal liability. Because when the financial crisis and all that stuff happened, thank God they got Martha Stewart. Huh? She made $20,000, but all the bankers are still free. Okay, the cost of data quality is staggering. Companies are struggling to be able to, and this is a US statistic, But the fact that it's costing over $611 billion, according to Gartner, because of poor quality data, it is enough to get CEOs to listen. If that is truly a major cost to the organization, how do we go on? Here's some statistic for you. If you've never been to Mercator Center, they're doing lots of research on cost of compliance, and there's a lot of good papers there. But since 2008, they say that US regulation will be the 4th largest economy in the world on the cost if it was measured. So, where are the problems? We did a survey recently, and we came back with the top issues that the compliance directors have. 65% of them still live in Excel hell. And how many of you have trusted the data that sit in those silos all over the place? Can't make any changes with IT. Sometimes I feel like the IT people want it that way because they want us to call them. Or spending too much time on data cleaning and manipulation. Spending too much time badly fragmented system, unable to agree and accommodate change in information. This report is free, so you can go and get that on the web. But here, I've been involved with the World Economic Forum for several years and released a book there called Trust Meltdown a few years ago. But this paper in 2015, has anybody read it? The Deep Shift? You should read it, but basically what it states is, we stand on the brink of a technology revolution that will fundamentally alter the way we live, work, relate to one another in a scale, scope, and complexity. The transformation will be unlike anything human has ever experienced. They have about 12 criteria in there that they talk about the impact on the future. So truly, even if we sit here thinking about all of the things that needs to be in place to be able to reach these goals, goes back to collaboration, standardization, and we need good quality data. So, the programmable RegTech ecosystem, I've kind of been starting to look at this for the last 5 years is, what infrastructure do we need and what kind of challenges do we have to overcome to have really a programmable ecosystem? And I pick on the regulators. They still think, or audit standard setters, they come up with a standard and they give us 700 pages of PDF. Yeah, that's really the 21st century, huh? We need data that we can take into application and innovate. So as long as you live in the PDF world, you're just not going to help. You need to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. So what is it? Well, it's just the use of technology, but when you start talking to people, you get all kinds of definitions like, is automating rules and validation RegTech? So I think that, and Mikael and a couple of us are starting a paper on RegTech here with the World Bank and hopefully Eurofilings to kind of define a little bit more about what RegTech is. So still, as I say, an ecosystem that nobody can say. If I asked Tom here what RegTech is, you probably tell me one story, and then I'm going to go over to Ignacio because he's not paying attention and ask him, and he's going to tell me a different story. So I think the definition of RegTech is still evolving. So with that, let's stop talking about big data. Let's just talk about all data. We can't just think about doing audit the old-fashioned way with sampling and go in and shoot the wounded at the end of the year when transactions are truly growing. I mean, look at Walmart. They do 4 billion transactions a day. So I'm going to put this ecosystem here for you where we need to start thinking about it. And I'm not telling you I have all the answers, but I took UK as an example. Because one of the things that is the biggest challenge for anybody who produces regulatory report is when the CFO or somebody comes in and says, make a change before you file. The legal said it. Do you know what they have to do unless they have this in a unique digital way? And I'll talk about what that is in a second. They have to spend the whole weekend and Monday and Tuesday trying to figure out, because when one number changes, It changes many parts of the report. Graphs, charts. Not only that, but they got to report that same number to board of directors, to management. And so they have inconsistency of data at all time. So we need to get to this model of one true source for the data with multiple views of the data. So when you change it at the source, you know that the board book is at the same level, the presentation, the press release that goes out. So we have to get into what we call suts and muts. Have you ever heard about suts and muts? Single source of truth to multiple view of the truth. And we as a company, we live smuts and muts. That's how we think. How can we get that one truth of the data to multiple view so that when Ignacio comes in and tells me that I have to change the number at the last minute, I go click change, no matter if it's in a graph, if it's in Word, etc. So this kind of environment with one truth to the data, smuts and muts. You learned something here today. So by doing that, you have a whole system. Some of the data, because of the great work of the Eurofiling coming up with a data point model, there isn't a lot of collaborations and things like that. The validation rule sits within the system, and they report directly to regulators, but they also report statistic information. Then they go down and they have to follow BSI-MIR rules, and then they file with the company house, and then they have to do HMR filing, and then look at all these others. There's a major effort right now in the UK, for example, that by 2020, they're going to have a chart of account for natural capital. The reason for that is they believe that GDP only measures income and not the true underlying asset of a company. So some of us in the room here are actually writing that document for the UK government on how to integrate XBRL into natural capital. As soon as I looked under the hood, it's like the old days of IFRS. What they did, there are over 40 ways to calculate natural capital for one specific capital because nobody could agree. So we're going through, in fact, in the next couple of months, we're going to release a statement between the World Bank, IMF, UN, and some other key players, including XBRL, that we're going to come together as a group to harmonize, because right now, companies has to report statistic natural capital to the Statistical Bureau, over there, ONS in this case, and then they report it in their annual report, but most important, they're managing their companies like that. One of the major software drink maker almost had to shut down because the city where they had their water plant to feed the factory to create sugary Coca-Colas or Pepsis or whatever, not telling you which one, they almost had to close down because the city was going to shut them off because they had taken too much water from town. So these natural capitals are becoming huge risks on the balance sheets, and investors are asking for more information. So UK is driving it. But my point is, you can see, unless you think smuts and muts, you are not going to be able to meet the demands. There has to be a collaborative effort to be able to have one truth for the data to multiple users. So I started to look a little bit at the model. I'm not saying this is a perfect model, but it kind of simplified things for a simple Norwegian. So at the bottom, if you look, we had a shared ledger before. There were databases, but now we're going to have distributed ledger or with the blockchain. Later on, we're going to have smart contract, was the middleware. Now we're going to have business rules. Well, first of all, we talk a little bit about smart contracts, but smart contracts are really only as smart as a programmer, okay? So that goes back to that trust issue. If I can't understand the underlying, if the data is quality, it's not going to be good. And then we have now new interface application, but we have bitcoins and other coins, and then machine-readable data. We are moving away from documents, which goes back to any time you start thinking about producing a document, is there a better way of doing that? Not only that, technology today, for example, if you're working on your annual report, I want to share it with Mikael, but I don't want him to see the net income because he's going to sneak out and trade before it's released to the market. I can now also section out that he can only see certain things. Fill in your footnote on pension, stay away from net income. So you have more controls around section, module, agile way of producing document with an audit trail. And many said, it's only 6 years, a little over 6 years since we were founded, that nobody will put the data in the cloud. But that's changing even here in Europe. So today, RegTech data lifecycle. I'm going to quickly go through that and explain the process. So you have ERP system, you have Excel, email, PDF, screenshots, phone calls, all this kind of information. And then you kind of put that into some kind of format. It's a document, it's an Excel, to transfer that information. And then you've got to make rounding and adjustment. Think about doing that for every number unless you have a smuts and a muts. So with that, you have large data sets, staging documents, etc. On top of that, you have context and analytical review. Imagine doing that in silos. Many different, especially as we move into integrated reporting. We are not even just thinking of financial data. Now we have data stored in many other places around the organization in silos. From there, you're then going to output that information to regulator, and key challenges. Good data governance. Remember, regulators don't even just look anymore at what you report out. They actually start telling you how to run your business by telling you which KPI to capture, etc. But the new audit rules, the enhanced audit report that's being mandated now, both here and in America, not that America and Europe can agree, because key audit matter with the K is the European way, and in America we call it CAM, critical audit matters. But it has the same effect. For the first time, auditors who audited all those bankrupt companies, and they keep auditing again, now they're going to actually have to disclose key audit matter. Another report that will be in there is the audit committee of the company will also have to disclose their approach to auditing and how they discarded their duties. So in my opinion, if you don't think good data governance today, I don't even think, you're going to be the dinosaurs. Where's Eric's t-shirt? The dinosaur? We need to get some of them. But you have to get to that level of good data governance. The time to report is also being shortened. Even if you don't report the information out, you just need it to management, we need more timely information, and we need all the departments to make the same, not the same decision, but have the same data and make the same decisions on the consistent data. It's a very excessive manual effort, lack of time for review. We get a lot of complaints from companies that says, we don't have enough time to review. We got all the data, report is there, but we don't have time to review. So inside application, we need more innovation, insight to verify information, etc. Collaboration. Nobody creates document alone anymore. If you send me an attachment and say, please review that, I just go, please find a place in the cloud where we can collaborate. How many times do you get an email and then they say, oh, no, that wasn't the last one. You're supposed to make comment on that, and you had already sent your comment in on the other one. This kind of version control, those days are gone. So if you still live in that world, you are really making it more difficult. Duplicated processes, version control. But if you have suts and muts, you can actually single source, oops, I spelled that wrong, SS, so, to multiple view, you in the cloud can make all of these changes, have all of the controls, audit the trail for anybody that changed it, not just on the document, but if they changed the number, you can go back. You can also collect all of the data so it rolls up. So suts and muts. When you leave here today, there's a great article in last month, Harvard Business Review, that actually is the first one I've seen in the marketplace. We know, talking about smuts and muts. So I'm not the only one, even Harvard is talking smuts and muts. Okay, so what's next? First of all, we got to start thinking about, so we got the collaboration down, we got the data into the cloud, we have good data governance around our processes, etc. But now we need to innovate. And I say the next phase will be the, and I can't say it, I'm from Norway, some of you Spanish people in here is probably not going to say it either, right? But logarithms, did I say it right? I know, Eric, you speak my language, you translate.
English is my second language, I don't have a first.
But that's an American claim. You know, they don't speak more than one language. Anyhow, yeah, you didn't get any comment. The logarithm RegTech ecosystem, there's going to be more intelligence. We're going to have to get smarter in putting similar processes, artificial intelligence. So what we spend a lot of our time is, how can we help validate rules? How can we make sure that the data is correct in the smuts and the muts? We are looking at how do you create intelligence? And really, the future of the economies are going to be around logarithms and intelligent people that can produce them. So my key message to everybody in this room, due to the fact that we have short time here, is that the programmable RegTech economy ecosystem will take mass collaboration. We are going to have the regulators at the tables. We're going to have to need their leadership. And when you look at the leadership that we see at the Bank of England, I love it. But we need more of the regulators to step up. And I know there are other countries leading it as well, but we need them at the table. We need the software vendor. We need Fujitsu. We need Workiva. And you. Come, we need you too. Yeah, come to you in. It's mass collaboration. We do need to collaborate. The leadership that Eurofiling has done by getting all of these banks together, I get goosebumps when I think what they've done, just as few people. So we need to collaborate more. We also have the issue of standardizing taxonomies and having good data quality. We had a great discussion. In fact, Mikael, that was the best ever, the 2.5 hours we had yesterday. I absolutely loved it. And can't wait to work more on that. So with that, I want to say thank you. I just really enjoyed these last 2 days, and I want to thank the organizer for this. I even put hearts up there. I love you. Thank you very much, and let's do it again next year. So key thing, smuts and muts, you all get that? Single source of truth to multiple views, source of views. So, smuts and muts, here we are. Who's next? Who should I?
To the gentleman who's coming up.
Oh, I got you. You can put it on your nose.
You all know Leaf, so I don't think it makes any sense to introduce her anyhow. She's been everywhere from the beginning of times, and she's responsible for more things than I can imagine in terms of these changes. And a fantastic person. Next speaker, Henning Dietrich. I've had the pleasure to start working with Henning on a quite recent project a few months ago. And I have to say that I'm a stubborn person, and I sometimes take a particular perception on something, I read a paper, I disagree with that, and so on. And I have to admit that this is a gentleman who's